afternoon. I'll call the March 12th meeting of the Transportation Committee to order. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see so many people here interested in what we do. The Transportation Committee reviews items of interest regarding all modes of transportation in the city of Oshkosh, including motor, transit, bike, and pedestrian. We are an advisory committee, and our favorable recommendations today will go before the Oshkosh Common Council as needed. The council can accept or reject any recommendation from this committee. If you don't agree with our decision, you can discuss the item with any council member. If the committee does not recommend an item to Common Council, a Common Council member may sponsor a new ordinance regarding that item. All ordinance items require 2 readings before the Common Council. The first reading will take place on Tuesday, March 26th at 6 p.m. And you'll be allowed to comment on the item and at that time, though the council will take no action. On Tuesday, April 9th at 6 p.m., the item will be on a second reading, at which time the council will take action, and you'll again be allowed to speak. For this afternoon's meeting, I will read each agenda item, at which time, if you'd like to speak, please step to the podium and give your name and address. I do ask you to keep your comments pertinent to the agenda item. The item will then come back to the committee for discussion and action as necessary. Just to be clear, there are 2 items regarding the transportation plan. The first one, there'll be a presentation which you don't get to speak at that point. After that, then it'll come to the committee, and that's when you'll have those here will have an opportunity to speak about the plan. So I just want to be clear on when that's going to happen. The committee has 2 alternate members who are allowed to participate in discussion, but not make motions or be included in roll call votes on agenda items, with the exception of initial roll call. Today, Sean, however, will be voting and making motions because Mr. Staple was not here today. The committee has adopted a public participation policy which provides 15 minutes for public comment. Citizens must provide their name and address to speak on matters related to transportation issues within our authority. Comment should be addressed to the committee members and not the staff. Items on the agenda should be addressed at the time the item is read, not during the open period of public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes, and the citizens may only provide comment one time unless permission is granted. Written comments sent to the city will be distributed to the committee members and become part of the public record. So with that, roll call vote. Roll call, please.
Erickson? Here. Merritt? Here. Hartman?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Martin? Here.
Okay. Any public comment at this point? Comment on anything not related to items on the agenda? Okay, excellent. We have no old business, correct?
Yep.
All right. New business. First item. Request to add a bus loading zone on Algoma Boulevard in front of Reed School. Anyone here to speak to that item? Okay. Given that, do we have a motion to approve that item?
Oh, let me describe it quick before you,
Okay.
then you can do the motion. So basically, when Algoma, there used to be a bus loading zone here at one point in time, but when Algoma was reconstructed, there's now, this is actually a cutout now, so the curb is back so that parents can pick up and drop off their kids as well as buses. So the issues that were being experienced by the school was that this whole area, and if you go there in the afternoon, you'll see it, is all parents. So the buses didn't have anywhere to board and alight the students. So I worked with the principal at Reed, and what she requested, and what we've temporarily signed it, and it's been working fairly well, is a bus loading zone. So it's about from this sign to just past this utility pole. So that she's putting cones out here as well, and then also staffing it, and so that parents don't pull in there, so that the buses can board and alight in that area. So I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, and she said it's working really well. So this would is a formal request to add this bus loading zone into the ordinance.
Motion?
Also move, Evelyn.
I'll second. Lindsay.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All right. Call the roll.
Erickson? Aye. Merritt?
Aye.
Hartman?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Lynch?
Aye.
So, next item is the
Can you do the minutes? Approve the minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed approval of minutes. Oh. Goodness. So, can we have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was February,
So moved.
I think? Got a motion from Jeff. Do we have a second?
Second.
Sean gets to do second because he was a half a second quicker.
And doesn't vote.
And he doesn't vote usually, so let's,
You can have it.
My day's come.
You get your name in the minutes.
all right. Call the roll, please.
Erickson? Aye. Merritt?
Aye.
Hartman?
Aye.
Armstrong? Lynch?
Aye.
Thank you for catching that. We're so determined to get to our big agenda item today. So, the next item will be a presentation on what the changes are proposed.
Yep.
And so we'll watch that and interact with that. Following that, then we'll have the time for public comment. Okay?
Yep. So I'll introduce the item quick. So Go Transit has been working with our East Central Regional Plan Commission, which is our metropolitan planning organization, to update our transit development plan. We do that approximately every 5 years, and it looks at a lot of different things: routes, fares, policies. Just kind of the best way to do analogy is it's our strategic plan for transit. So working with East Central, we hired SRF consultants to work with us on this plan, and we've been working on it for about a year, maybe a little bit over now. So we have representatives here from representatives here from both East Central and SRF that'll help us with this presentation. I believe that Matt from SRF is going to be doing the presentation, do a short presentation here with the changes, and then after that, like Al said, then there's an opportunity for public comment. So I'll turn it over to Joe, or to Matt and Joe from SRF.
Sure. Thank you. Does the microphone here work?
Yes.
All right, so I'll go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint presentation on the screen at the front of the room. So hopefully you all will be able to see that okay. Let's see. All right, so as Jim mentioned, my name is Matthew Stegeman with SRF Consulting Group. We are a full-service planning and design firm out of the Twin Cities, Minnesota that focuses primarily on transportation. And in this role, we have worked with Go Transit and East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission to identify recommendations for improving Go Transit's service to best meet the needs of riders today and tomorrow. This plan is intended to look at a 5-year time horizon. So really it's outlining changes that could be implemented as soon as this year, as well as long-term opportunities that could be pursued later. And so we'll walk through some draft recommendations of this plan, and then can move into the public comment and discussion period. A little more about what the transit development process includes. Really, we conduct a year-long effort to analyze existing conditions on the transit system, including looking at where riders are boarding and alighting throughout the system, what destinations are served, and which destinations have been requested by the community that are not yet served. We also look at demographics of the population that the system serves, including folks without access to a vehicle. We look at the low-income and minority populations of the area. And we look for those gaps where maybe there's a major destination or a major employer or a neighborhood that's unserved. We then move to conduct public outreach, including a rider survey and a community survey, to understand what needs are going unmet and how the service can best be organized better to reflect the needs of riders. From then, we work with East Central and with Go Transit to develop and evaluate alternatives to understand, when we were proposing new routes, how those routes may benefit riders. And then finally, we enter the last phase of this process, which is to draft a plan that reflects the input that we've received, and then provide that to the Transportation Committee and ultimately to the Common Council for review and approval. But crucially, at this stage of the project, we're also soliciting public feedback. So we were out present at the Transit Center today for several hours to go ahead and ask riders what they think of the new changes, to provide the information that you see on the boards in front of you and that you'll see in this presentation, with the goal of encouraging folks to come to tonight's meeting or to submit comments online if they have concerns or if they think the changes will be beneficial to them. In terms of the route changes themselves, we will be doing some streamlining, and we have worked with Go Transit to reorganize several of the transit routes. So currently, Go Transit operates 9 routes, numbered 1 through 9, and 5 of those routes are targeted for some sort of change as part of this plan in terms of where the route actually goes. So those are routes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. And in some cases, these are minor tweaks. In some cases, these are larger restructurings that may change the purpose of the route. So starting with Route 2, which you see in green on the map on the screen, this route broadly keeps its current alignment, but where it goes north through downtown, today it runs on Main Street, just north of the transit center. And there have been issues with buses being able to navigate that section of Main, with the number of businesses that are present downtown, with the way that folks park on the street. Obviously, it's a very pedestrian-friendly area and has important destinations for transit riders. But there have been instances where cars are double parked. It's tough for a bus to get by. There have been close calls and some instances of mirrors getting clipped, that sort of thing. And so Go Transit has recommended that we move that portion of the route just half a block west onto Division Street to navigate sort of behind the storefronts of downtown and avoid some of those conflicts with other vehicles. And then that route would rejoin Main Street, where it would continue north and rejoin the previous alignment. Route 3, you'll see in orange, covers this pattern, sort of encircling downtown. This route currently has a broader loop that crosses the river in multiple points further to the west. This restructuring would reverse the direction of the route to operate northbound from downtown, then west along New York Avenue, and then in on Algoma, and in on High, excuse me. And then in addition, this route would cross south of the river to serve 6th Avenue, where it would provide access to the new Theta Care hospital facility that's being planned. So, really with this route, the goal was to focus on the places of the route that are most productive in terms of ridership, as well as to provide access to that new critical healthcare facility. Route 4, which you'll see in pink up here at the top of the map, will be keeping its current alignment, but there was extra time in the schedule on that route. So that was an opportunity to extend the route further north to meet some new destinations. And so what we see here along Main and Snell, and then back down on Fernald, is a new loop that serves an industrial park, including major employers like Amco Flexibles, the former Bemis area. We know that there are lots of employers up there that currently are beyond the reach of the transit network, and that could benefit from transit access, not just as employers, but for employees trying to reach those jobs. And what we found is that there are about 2,000 jobs up there that currently are unmet, but that this extension would help meet. In addition, Route 5 would be restructured to take on part of the former Route 3. So in orange, where the Route 3 has come east of the river, the Route 5 would basically swap and cover the west side of the river, including the senior center here, and then West High School. It would continue west out to a new west transfer point off of Robin Avenue. So instead of going west of I-41, this route, which currently is very tight on time, would stay east of 41. And then still offer a transfer to the Route 7 in Brown, which serves more of the retail destinations along the frontage road. The one change to Route 7 would be to change the alignment slightly from traveling on Highway 21 to covering a small portion of Amro Road, and that is to serve the DMV location. So we had heard in previous years that there was a need for folks to get to and from that location, and it was difficult to access because from the current routes, it requires that people walk across Highway 21. Yes, exactly. And obviously that's a difficult roadway to cross, and so we were looking for ways to better serve that area. One change that helped this happen is that the city of Oshkosh did annex the parcel that the DMV sits on. And so due to Wisconsin's funding regulations for transit, transit routes operated by a city are supposed to stay primarily within that city. So by virtue of the city's boundary changing, transit routes can now be drawn to better serve that location. In addition to the changes to route alignments, we're also exploring ways to better interline services to reduce transfers. Now, interlining is a technical transit term that basically means allowing one route to be through running with another. And so when a route reaches a designated point, it, instead of turning around, it can transform into the next route. So one reason that we're exploring this is because in the current route network, there are multiple places throughout the system where one route meets another, but the two do not allow people to continue in the same direction without transferring onto a different bus. So the goal here is to establish more route pairs that enable people to keep traveling northbound if they're going northbound, even if the route number changes. And for people who, say, ordinarily would ride one route around in a loop, they would need to transfer a bus, but the majority of riders would be able to ride through. So the places that we've looked to make these improvements, if you can see the cursor on the screen, are routes 1 and 4, which really provide a north-south pattern on sort of the northeast portion of Oshkosh. Route 1 and 4 currently have a transfer at Mallard and Evans, and this would be converted into a transfer point just one block west on Bowen Street. So the route alignment of Route 1 would not change, but the routes would meet at a slightly different point. And when the northbound Route 1 reached that point, it would convert into a northbound Route 4. So in our observations, we saw lots of people who needed to make that transfer and who had to sit for a couple minutes and wait for the next bus at a stop. And this will allow people to use the same bus for that journey. The next route pairing that we're looking at is Route 2, which you see here in green, and Route 8, which you see south of the river in purple. These meet at the Downtown Transit Center, and pairing them together allows people to continue a north-south journey that crosses the river without changing a bus. So at the Downtown Transit Center, the Route 2 southbound would continue as a Route 8 southbound, enabling people to make that journey without a transfer. The next alternative is that we are proposing routes 3, 5, and 7 be interlined. And Route 3 runs the loop most tightly in downtown. Route 5 travels west to the west transfer point. Route 7 goes north-south along the frontage road. Routes 5 and 7 are currently interlined, but we are exploring, in partnership with Go Transit, some potential changes to driver schedules that may allow all 3 routes to be connected together, enabling more people to make their trips without a transfer. And it's possible that that change on the Route 3, in terms of interlining with the routes 5 and 7, may wait until that driver schedule change is made at a future date rather than being implemented alongside the alignment changes in August. And then finally, routes 6 and 9 enable east-west trips to be made. Starting from downtown, in this blue pattern, you see the westbound Route 6. This would meet at Walmart and offer a transfer to the Route 9. These routes are not changing in their alignment or destinations, but pairing them together allows for more people to make that west and southwest bound journey without a transfer. In addition to the alignment and interlining changes, this study did include a study of fares. And as part of the recommendations, we are proposing a fare increase. Over the past several years, especially throughout the COVID pandemic, many agencies have seen their cost structures increase. With most agencies offering higher pay for drivers, in some cases bonuses, and seeing increases in operating costs because of that. And due to this, as well as inflation on other key items like tires and fuel, the cost structure of Go Transit has continued to climb, not out of sync with its peers, but it's continued to go up. So what we'd recommend is that fares be increased from the current one-way fare of $1.50 to a one-way fare of $2. The monthly passes increased by a smaller percentage from $35 to $40, and a day pass be introduced for the first time at the rate of twice the regular fare, or $4 per day. Now, all of these prices are for the general public. Reduced fares would continue to apply for eligible groups. Those would be priced, as is their current rate, at half the normal fixed route fare. One reason that we are recommending adding a day pass is that it enables people to make more trips within a single day, even if they don't have a monthly pass. So, for instance, if you were to make 2 round trips, or two one-way trips, or 1 round trip using single fares, that would cost you $4. If you wanted to make a 3rd trip later in the day, or even a 4th trip, today that would cost you more. And so you might think twice about making those trips. But with a day pass, it really encourages riders to use the service for more trip purposes, to use it to get to and from work, and maybe to run some errands or pick up the kids as well. And in doing so, it can make transit more accessible and more affordable to more people. The prices that we're proposing for these fares are broadly in line with or lower than peer agencies. So you'll see in the table at the right of this slide that the current Go Transit fares are below what's being charged by Fond du Lac Area Transit to the south and Valley Transit up in Appleton. And so what we would propose for the one-way fares is that they match those systems at $2 for the general public and $1 for reduced fare riders. We'd suggest that Go Transit match the lower of the day pass options. So Appleton's day pass is $4 versus $5 in Fond du Lac. We suggest going with $4 as it's more affordable and equals the price of 2 one-way fares. Finally, for the monthly pass, currently Go Transit is below both Fond du Lac and Appleton. We'd suggest that the monthly pass be raised to $40, which matches Fond du Lac Area Transit, and is still well below the $60 that Valley Transit charges in Appleton. And it's worth noting that fares over time have stayed relatively low at Go Transit compared to not just these in-region peers, but also to peers around the state. And so, we see this as an opportunity to right-size the fares in this system with respect to their closest peer agencies, reflecting that there is still a need to make sure that there are affordable options available to riders. In addition to the price changes and the addition of the day pass, we also suggest making some additional policy changes, including eliminating the existing 20 pass punch cards, which are sold by the drivers on buses and require additional interaction and require drivers to keep and make change. Not only does that offer the potential to create delays on routes, but it also increases the level of driver potential distraction, as well as the risk of drivers who must carry cash, which can cause safety concerns for drivers. The other change that we'd recommend is that for agency fares, which are purchased by outside human service organizations who buy tickets on behalf of their riders, typically funded through other public subsidy programs, that those switch from metal tokens to paper vouchers to continue offering those fares and the availability of those transit passes, but to do so in a more cost-effective way. The trend in recent years has been that GO Transit has been continually investing in more and more tokens without seeing many of those come back onto the system and be used. So the idea is to convert to paper to still enable those passes to be used, but to reduce the agency's own costs. Then along with all these changes, we'd suggest that as you're introducing the day pass and revising the routes, that the agency keep paper transfers for customers who need them. Some agencies, as they've introduced day passes, have eliminated paper transfers, which enable you to go to a different bus using the same fare, even if you don't have a day pass. And so we recommend that those stay in place as riders are adjusting to the changes. Now, in terms of next steps, the way that we envision this study wrapping up is that in March 2024, we will deliver the final written deliverable and report to GO Transit and East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission for their review. We'll be continuing to conduct rider outreach, including accepting public comment. Today is functioning as the formal public hearing on the changes. And so we have riders and community members here looking to make comments, and we welcome those comments on this draft plan. And then in April, we anticipate bringing the final plan to City Council for adoption and to confirm the timeline for route and fare improvements. So the timeline for implementation that has been discussed with GO Transit is that the route changes would be implemented in August of 2024. The idea there is to provide time for riders to adjust prior to the September period when we know many students go back to school, many families have to change their travel patterns. So allowing a month for riders to become familiar with the new system before needing to add another trip to their daily schedules. Ahead of that time, GO Transit would produce updated maps and schedules and bus stop signage, including moving any stops that need to be moved due to a route change. There would be changes to driver shift assignments to reflect the new routes and scheduling if that change is also confirmed. And then finally, service would start usually on the first Monday of the month. So this concludes our formal presentation today. Obviously, we are here to hear from the committee members as well as the public folks who are in the room. If there are any questions that come up, please feel free to ask myself and my colleague Joe Capper, who's seated in the blue. And then we also additionally have maps of the route changes posted at the front of the room on those two display boards if you'd like to refer to them in further detail. So thank you for the opportunity to address this group. We value your input and appreciate your perspective on transit in Oshkosh. And of course, we look forward to working together with you to develop a final plan that meets the expectations of this community and improves service for riders. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, opportunity to for public comment, please go to the podium, give me your name, your address. And Matt, if you would, I don't know, kind of stand around over there. I'm not sure how, I assume that they may have questions for Matt, and I'd like him to have the opportunity to answer those. So maybe if you could use that microphone right there in case people have questions for you.
Sure. I'll be seated here.
All right, thank you.
So, I think you said that, but if you could just give us your name and address for the record, and then go forward.
My name's Craig Kleinschmidt, 1339 West Bent Avenue here in Oshkosh. The reason I had stopped, I don't know if you, I'm a visually impaired person. 15 years ago, I lost 3/4 of my vision, virtually, snap of a finger. I became a very regular user of the Oshkosh Transit, and I'm grateful for that. I have fun stories that I've shared with Matt today. I'm not going to share those because it doesn't make any difference. But what does make a difference is how we deal with, when I say we as a community, as a city, how we deal with not just people with disabilities, but the people that are actually paying cash for their services. Okay? I don't know the exact numbers, never been privy to how many subsidized rides are utilized for our Oshkosh system. I suspect that it's very high. Subsidized rides are very important, and I'm not saying that these should change. But subsidized rides come from outside sources that aren't here directly in our community, not put out by the folks at this table. So what I'm getting at is very simply, what I read and what I've been shared with is that a punch card, which I use, and I use about 13 times a month. These are available for 20 punches. It's a neat deal. I'm a senior. I get a discount. With a new rate, it seems to me that the daily rate for me to go down and have my coffee downtown, or to go to the doctor, wherever it may be, is about $1 per ride as we'd go. Great deal. What I understand is that with the punch card disappearing, that there won't be a way for an individual like myself to have a non-ended card, meaning I have no problems with paying for 20 rides. But I do have a problem with those 20 rides ending at the end of the month. What I'm asking is that there be a way, now if I'm misspoken on how this is, great, then this is just a mention. But if that is the case, what I'm suggesting is by utilizing a cellular device, which is a great thing, might be a way of utilizing the daily pass that I could use. Now, don't get me wrong, by the end of this month, this was my last month, so I'm at, and it really does, the usership on that doesn't matter. But the important thing is by being able to buy something that's not going to be wasted. I'm not in the sense of just throwing money out the window. Now, will $5 make or break my family? No. But I'd rather give it to the Christian Aid Center, to somebody that can use that money then. That's not going to happen. So what I'm asking is that a senior card or senior ride be made so that they can be purchased in increments of 20, as they always have been, or they have been, and that they do not expire. That's that. As I take that along with it, there were a couple things that I was not aware of with the rides. As we go There's some disappointment. Myself, as I mature, I discover that my walking radius is lessening. Right now, I count steps. So if you know where I'm going, I know exactly where I'm going. So from my home to my first stop, which is from Bent Avenue to the museum area right now, that'll change, is 1,822 steps. Now, that's fine. I can do that now. I'm pretty amble. But as I mature, this is going to change. So routes will be routes. You can't do everything to change things. But the main thing that I'm here for is, as we look at this, what I ideally looked at the pictures was that it was focusing towards the university an awful lot. Good luck. I don't really believe that our university students are using the transit system as anyone believes it is. Now, myself going on a ride, and some folks are, which is great, but it seems to me that there's a large focus going that way. So
Craig,
the other thing that I heard.
Craig, you're about 7 minutes in.
Okay, then I am done. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great.
Anyone else like to speak? Please.
Hi, Terry Westenberger, 155 North Eagle. Okay, I'll go kind of quick because I got a little list here. I'm really glad I learned some good things already today. I ride the bus 3 or 4 days a week, and I do not have a car anymore, so I depend on the city bus. And the main thing I hope for, and I don't ever see happening, is Sunday service, Sunday bus service. Okay, first of all, as I ride the bus, I've noticed a lot of residential areas that are not covered, that used to be covered years ago. Would be the south side and southeast residential areas and South Main Street. I feel they're all underserved. Also on the west side where I live near West High School, Tipler and Franklin schools are not easily gotten to by the kids. I mean, they can't get off right by school anymore, because that route was changed. Route 5 was, 6 was changed years ago. So I really would like to see more, just attention given to not taking away any more routes from the school kids. Also, Walmart access is tremendously difficult for those of us who have limited mobility or a handicap or disability. I'm glad it goes there, but it's in the winter. I'm sure it restricts a lot of people. Okay, got that. Okay, so I think that's it for me. I'm very happy with the transit system otherwise. The drivers are great, very courteous. I try to advocate to my senior friends that they get on the bus and go someplace. Oh, I can't, I gotta call a cab. No, you don't. Get on the bus. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I first just want to say I'm extremely nervous. Kathy Books, 167 West 21st Avenue.
I can't, I'm sorry.
I can't hear.
Could you speak closer to that?
Turn up the mic. Somebody working them?
I think you just have to get close.
Just talk close.
I'll see if we can just.
Hello,
Yeah.
Yay, thank you.
Kathy Books, 167 West 21st Avenue. I'm focused on the passes. So, on the day pass, are we going to blurb the outlets that you can purchase the passes? And for example, the library, you can get passes there. And do we have any other outlets that are available that can supply passes? I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not, I would be a no check on the increase from 35. I would recommend that the 35 just be 35 across the board for the bus passes. Because if I'm getting right now, if I'm getting a 3-month bus pass, I'm paying $90 because it's touted as the bundled best economically option. And that goes away. But I understand what you said about all the different maintenance and all the other inflation and COVID and all that have been factored into the cost. So if that is the answer, then I'm okay with that. But yeah, I would rather just stay with 35 across because then I'm 105 for 3 months, and I'm good with that. 120 just, it seems like it's just a little too high for me, but okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Burgundy Johnson, and I live at 392 Westbrook Drive. First, I'd like to address that students absolutely use the buses. I understand that there's probably maybe a tad too many stops, but please, we do use the buses. I'm an alumnus of the university of a few years ago. We use them. I'd also like to support my neighbor, my community member, and say that please don't get rid of the punch cards. Some of us don't always have cash on us, which I understand if you're using the bus, you should probably have cash on you, but it's nice to just have those trips paid up front and just carry a little card in your wallet. I'd also like to vouch my support for inclusion of a stop at the industrial park. I used to work at UPS, and that long walk from the last stop out to the UPS warehouse was easily 15 to 20 minutes, and I was only working there during the summer. I can imagine how bad that walk would be during the heart of winter. I also would like to vouch my support for having a stop at the DMV. I would just walk there if I could, but because I'm not that far from it, I'm near the Walmart that I work at now. But I have to cross that highway, and I don't have a car. I don't want a car. And I'm not crossing that highway by foot. I don't have a death wish. So I'm absolutely supporting that. I can't think of anything else, so I concede my time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, take it back to the committee. Well, Jim, we heard a couple of comments about punch cards. I mean, are there options on that?
Yeah, you want to speak a little bit to that, man?
Sure. So in terms of at least one of the comments that we did get today, I think from Craig regarding an electronic option for punch cards that may not expire. Go Transit currently has a mobile fare payment app called Token Transit, which may offer the ability to purchase multiple rides that don't expire. We can look into this with Go Transit to see if we can use that capability of the software to offer different fare types and different fare rules. It is an app that's in use by many other small and large transit agencies across the country. The other thing that we discussed with Go Transit just earlier today was that Go Transit will be anticipating to conduct a full fare system upgrade, and that could include changes to the technology on buses as well. And that may be another opportunity to look at changes to fare policies or to the types of passes that are offered. I do think that when it comes to fare options, many agencies are finding that it's quicker and simpler to offer new products doing it through the mobile app, but obviously not everyone has access to a smartphone. So I would say to the extent feasible, it's common practice among transit agencies to try and offer parity across cash versus mobile fare options. I think from our perspective, eliminating the punch cards would make sense in terms of the driver interaction on buses, but preserving the ability for people to buy multiple passes at once, whether it's at an outlet or on a mobile app, could be a useful solution. One curious thing about the punch cards here in Oshkosh versus in other places is that the punch cards offer no discount. So while you are able to purchase many passes at once, essentially you're paying the same price as if you were traveling using single tickets. Under the current system, there is not much of a difference between having a punch card and having multiple passes in your pocket, beyond the fact that purchasing multiple tickets either requires you carry cash on the bus or requires that you keep tickets around. So there are multiple options to make that work, whether the punch cards are retained or eliminated.
Yeah.
And not to speak to Greg or others, I didn't hear the punch card was the issue. It was more the opportunity to buy a certain number and not have them expire. I think that was the basic issue. So
Sure.
I think if that gets met, I don't think, at least from what I heard, having a punch card or not wasn't the critical issue.
Steve can explain a little bit, but we do. I'll answer a couple of questions real quick.
Sure.
So like Matt said, we currently have token transit, so there's different ways to do fares, but that is the way to do a mobile fare, and it's also the way that customers can use a credit card. We are looking at some different technology. We're hoping that we'll have it before too long, which would involve tickets that can be scanned when you get on the bus, and or it allows student IDs to be scanned as well. Somebody had mentioned about fare outlets. If we are able to get that system, which I'm not promising, but it looks promising, is that then they currently have an arrangement with the Pick and Save stores. So if we went with that vendor, there'd be the ability to buy, and we'll still obviously sell passes at the library and at City Hall. So we'll still have pass outlets, that's not going away. But if we go with the vendor that we've talked to, there's the potential that you could also buy, whatever type of fare at like a Pick and Save, whether that be a card that's reusable or a single ticket or whatever you need. So I think that like Matt answered that pretty well with the punch. As far as passes not expiring, we do have a little bit of a problem with that. And Steve can explain what the issue is there.
Yes, every year we have to report to the FTA revenue for services rendered. You see it in agency fares, tokens, where large groups might buy pre-purchased rides and hand them out. The FTA requires that we report the rides as they're used, not as sold, which creates a major accounting thing. So if we sell $100,000 worth of agency or prepaid fares, we only use 50,000. We have to account for a 50,000 gap, which is a pain in the neck when you're reporting to the feds. How you explain that? We go in circles every year on that. So that's an important thing. Not to beat a dead horse here, but with the new system, potentially, it would allow people to preload cards. So if you were to have a set amount, you can put that amount into a card, and you can purchase whatever fare you have, and that would allow you to use it along those ways. And to talk about advertising to different outlets, as Jim said, I think it's more than Pick and Save. There's a few anyway, retail outlets. You have the ability to do it online. Still be available at the library, City Hall, Transit Center on Wednesdays, and at the Transit Center office. So we'll have plenty of opportunities, whether they have a cell phone or if you need to do it in person, we'll have lots of options for people to take advantage of purchasing those fares.
Yeah, and we can look, and we haven't ironed out our fare policy 100% because we need to talk more with this vendor. However, the fares do need to expire at some point. I don't know, we can look at some different options, but like Steve said, because he's had that experience the last 2 years, he's had to kind of write a term paper on why our fares sold don't match the rides taken. So that's the feds don't really like that, and I can understand, from an accounting standpoint why that would be a problem for them. But we do not so much for riders, but agencies for sure. They'll get an influx of aid from somewhere, and they'll want to use it to buy agency tickets, which is great. However, sometimes they don't use those for a long period of time, and that it was exasperated over COVID when they had extra money. They bought a lot of extra tickets, and then I don't know what happened to them. Somebody's got them somewhere, so that's an issue. So, but yeah, we can look at some different expiration dates. So I think that answers the majority of that.
Do you put something, so my thought is, how when you get a coupon for a restaurant, it says good until, and then they give an expiration date of when.
Yeah, that's what we anticipate happening.
I think at this point we should have a motion on this. That's to approve the 2024 Transit Development Plan. Do I have a motion on that?
No, can I ask a question first?
Well, why don't we do the motion, get it seconded, and then you can ask a question.
This is just for the route changes.
Oh, this is for the whole thing. This is the whole plan. Fare increase, route changes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Lindsay moves.
Second.
Jeff seconds. All right, Beth, you have a question?
Yeah, one question had to do with Route 4, when you talked about extending it for the factories. Did you also look at the hours of shifts for the factories?
Yes, we did conduct a business survey in conjunction with East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. We did receive several responses. One of the challenges with reaching industrial parks is that their shifts tend not to be aligned neatly with many transit agencies' schedules. And so, there may be certain shifts that are covered, but others may have one or both of their shift transition times that are outside the hours of operation for the transit system. And so, with the current hours of the system, approximately from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., give or take, there may be a 7 to 3 shift that's well covered, but there may be other shifts that are less well covered. It's worth noting, and Jim is probably about to say this, that Go Transit does offer the Access to Jobs program, which makes available trips for folks for the purposes of employment trips only during hours when regular fixed route service is not operating. And that service would remain available to folks who qualify. Jim, I don't know if you want to follow up on that.
Oh, sure. So yeah, exactly. So we do have the Access to Jobs program that is available. It's a $4 cab ride each way for folks that, it's during hours the bus is not operating and or the commute is too long to use fixed route. So there is that option in, it's for folks that live and work in the city of Oshkosh and work 30 hours a week or more, and then there's an income level, but that's been raised thanks to some help, grant with United Way. So we don't really have many people that don't qualify as far as income. It's usually, it would be more if you lived and worked outside the city or you work part-time. And then obviously if you're outside the city, that becomes more of a county issue. And then part-time, there's still a little bit of a gap. There are some volunteer ride programs available that help fill some of those gaps, but that's available for those people.
That's why I asked the question, is because I'm one of those volunteer drivers.
Oh, sure.
And I know these odd times of 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and, I mean, the bus is never going to run those hours. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, one more, and then we need to.
Tipler and
to
Franklin,
end.
were they considered, I mean, it's just someone, one of the people spoke about how for the children to ride, where do they get the bus?
Yeah, so those were considered, and I know that Jim and Steve are about to jump in. We did look at those in the restructuring of the Route 5, which now would be west of the river. Jim, do you want to speak to
sure.
those particular locations?
So Tipler, currently the stop will remain the same. It's on Eagle and Witzel, and it's on the north side of the street. However, it is at a stop-controlled traffic signal. So middle school kids, so it's not ideal, but it's less than a half a block, and they should learn how to use, the pedestrian crossing anyway. But, ideally we'd have it on the other side of the street, but it's just not possible with the current routes. As far as Franklin goes, we really have very minimal elementary school ridership. Trying to think, Steve, what's the closest route there? Off the top of your head? Well, you could actually get off on, now I'm thinking about it, you could get off on 9th, and then there's a school crossing guard at, at Huntington Place with, there's also a pedestrian crossing there as well. So depending where they're coming and going to, but most of those schools tend to be neighborhood schools, so we don't really, because the elementary students, we just don't have a lot of ridership because for whatever reason the parents aren't comfortable with that, but there are some options available. It's not obviously in front of the school, but.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, Lindsay?
Clarifying process question. So if we recommend this plan, then it goes to council approves the plan, does that then trigger all of the route changes and fare changes, or would those come as separate policy changes?
So, so this is, it's a whole plan, obviously. So if the board recommends approval of this plan, which the major, there's other long-term stuff in there, which you've seen in the full presentation. If anybody's interested, you can watch our last board. It has the full presentation. So there's some long-term things that somebody had asked about, and we're well aware of those areas of the city that we don't have fixed route coverage, and hopefully at some point in the future we can address those with possibly like a micro transit service, which we're currently piloting between Neenah and Oshkosh. But if something like that was successful and we got some more funding, maybe that's an option for some of those areas, and or some of those like Sunday service or something like that. However, currently we don't have that availability, but we're well aware of those gaps. So if the board recommends approval of this plan, the major things are the things that we talked about tonight. Then it will go to the Common Council at the April 9th meeting. What will happen at that meeting then is we anticipate that SRF will give council a short presentation and then ask them to adopt our plan. If it gets approved by council, then as Matt had talked about earlier, we're tentatively goal would be to implement some of these changes on August 1st for the reasons that he spoke about earlier.
So this would then, approving this plan would cause the fare change?
Yes. So the committee is making a recommendation to council, who ultimately has the decision-making authority. So nothing would happen until council approves it, obviously, but we're looking for a recommendation from this board to go to council.
Any other questions? Any other comments from committee members? Are you ready to vote? All right. Call the roll, please.
Erickson,
Aye.
Merritt,
Aye.
Hartman,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Lynch.
Aye.
Great, thank you. The next item is the Go Transit update to our Title VI program. It was a fairly long document. It was extremely boring to read.
Welcome to our world. Federal regulations.
Good news is not that much has changed. So basically, every 3 years, the FTA requires us to submit a Title VI program. So this document you have before you, we work together with East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Basically, it's prepared to ensure that the level and quality of our fixed route and our paratransit programs is fair and non-discriminatory and provides access to all members in our community. So basically, a lot of it's the same from last year. We have updates pertaining to small changes, whether it be the buses, whether it be the population and how the population's affected through this. Basically, pretty cut and dry. Like I said, the vast majority of it stays the same. We've updated a few things with some of the agencies we work with as far as refugee programs, and that's what we have before you today.
Yeah. And I think East Central worked with you to update some census figures from the
Census.
2020 census.
Yeah, so the census data, correct, the maps, the population layout on the maps attached as compliments of East Central. Thank you, guys. And that's all updated and currently reflected in this document.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the update on Title VI program?
Also move.
Everyone moves.
Second. Lindsay.
Lindsay seconds. Any questions, comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Erickson,
Aye.
Hartman,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Lynch. Lynch
Oh, aye.
and Merritt.
Before we go to staff statements, just to thank everybody for coming and making comments. If you want to stay and listen to staff comments, you're welcome to do that. But if you were looking for an opportunity to exit, you can exit right now.
And I believe Matt and Joe will be here for a couple minutes later if you have questions. But thanks for everybody that did participate. And if you do have any questions, please reach out to us. You know, you can call the office and we'll be happy to answer any further questions.
I think we heard some issues that you were aware of and you're working on.
Yep.
Ridership update.
All right, I feel like I'm ready for my solo and half the audience is gone.
I'm sorry to take that away from you.
Yeah, thanks. No, really, I'll keep it short. We're running a little bit late here. Just to summarize, overall ridership took a nice bump in February. Fixed route ridership was up almost 31%. We saw a decline in student ridership for the last several months. Took a big jump up in February. We had an increase of almost 26% in student rides in February. And tracking numbers for pre-pandemic, we are about 11% shy of pre-pandemic numbers. So the ridership is slowly increasing year by year. So hopefully, end of this year, maybe next, we'll be back up to pre-pandemic levels. But ridership is a good ridership month.
Great.
Second one, the morning tripper. We added a morning tripper, basically on routes 1 and 2. The ridership levels the buses were getting very, very crowded. So we took a proactive step with coordination with Oshkosh Area School District, agreed to add a second bus on Route 1 and Route 2, basically not only to take the pressure of the students, but we also had people just trying to get to work and they're buried behind a bunch of students. They couldn't get off the bus. So that program is going very smoothly. Ridership levels is safe and good on both of those buses, and something we thank everyone's cooperation on, and I think we're providing a better and safer product in the mornings to get kids to school and people to work.
Thank you. Proactive response to an issue.
Yeah, we saw it was getting a little crowded, and before anything happened, we wanted to make sure that we were put out a fire before it got started. So
That's the time to do it, yes. Yep.
And then I just have one other update on traffic. You may or may not have noticed, a few people have, because we received some comments, but we've now installed traffic cameras to actuate the signals on Wisconsin between Pearl and Algoma. So the Pearl intersection, the High, and Algoma. We put in pedestrian accommodations there. Some of them already had it, but some of them we had to upgrade a little bit. So obviously you can use the pedestrian signals. But that is now being mostly actuated, which means that it detects traffic. So we're currently kind of in a hybrid mode. We're not completely actuated, but we had a lot of requests for the left turn signal from Wisconsin onto Pearl, especially during morning rush hours. So that is now active. Currently, it's only during morning rush hours. We had KL Engineering did a traffic study for us, and that's what they recommended. And then we put some timing changes in based on their recommendations. And then for the first couple of weeks, it was working okay, but we were noticing it was off a little bit. But we noticed that after we received a couple calls that actually the clocks that are in the controller were they have to be aligned every so they were off a little bit. So now we've got those synced again, and it seems to be working really well. So you'll notice that now you can get through there pretty well. The only exception, if somebody presses the pedestrian button, then obviously that takes priority, and then the signals go out of coordination. But for the rest of the time, it seems to, now that we've corrected the control clocks, it seems to be working pretty well. If this goes well, we may eventually look at completely actuating it, which we have at a lot of other areas in the city now, which is we just kind of let the main street, the main road would be with the most traffic then kind of flows until there's demand from the side streets. So we may do that eventually, but for right now we're seems to be working really well, and we've now, since we made those tweaks, we've gotten a few positive comments that people really appreciate that. So hopefully it continues to go well.
Thank you. Any comments from members? Any future agenda items? Jim, I have seen people use the crosswalk on Witzel that your staff installed that gave the flashing lights, because it's the only crosswalk between 41 and West Haven. And so I've seen some people use that, so thank you for saving them, trying to dash across the street. Any comments? Any other issues?
Well, the left turn that you were just talking about, it did delay me a little bit getting here before this meeting, because right around 4 o'clock it's really busy there too.
Oh, yeah. So there's that intersection of Pearl and Wisconsin in the afternoon gets fairly busy as well. We did try to extend the left turn from turning left off of Pearl and then turning left onto Witzel at between 3 and 4:30. That's a really busy intersection. So yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Your motion to adjourn?
So move.
Evelyn moves.
Second.
Sharon seconds.
Erickson,
Aye.
Merritt,
Aye.
Hartman,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Okay.